I did bring a drone over here. One of the models that I'm most familiar with, and this is one I actually use this year quite a bit. So, show of hands, who has drones in here, owns a drone? Okay, got a few, more than I think. 3, 4. Are these spraying drones or are these mapping drones? Mapping. How many are mapping drones? Okay, and how many are spraying drones? Okay. All right, so good. I got some people that are familiar with it. So some of you are familiar with this, and it's actually not a surprise, I think, at a conference like this to see people that are involved with mapping drones, spraying drones. You guys are innovators, obviously, interested in enhancing your farm value and enhancing and learning about your crops. So Airstrike Ag is really about that, and comes from, you know, I've been involved in the ag industry for quite some time, but Airstrike is kind of a new invention, at least for me and in this area. It's really me investing my time back into my community. I've spent the last 10 years doing a lot of work around internationally and throughout the states. I've started another company in the past 2 years called Pegasus Robotics. We were a distributor, and we launched the XAG product line here in the US. We're the sole distributor for Canada and for Canada and the US. So I've worked with all the major drone companies over the last 10 years. It's really been a pleasure. I got in at the right time. I worked for SenseFly, worked on their drone program and fine-tuning for agriculture. In that process, I actually worked for Parrot. Parrot was the parent company that purchased SenseFly and Pix4D. I worked on some of their products. I worked on the first multispectral cameras and the calibration of those, testing a lot of those in Arizona and South America during the cold months here, warm months there. Really been privileged to work with all the major chemical and fertilizer companies around the world on their programs as well. So, you know, I've had a lot of experience, and I kind of just slipped in and out of this area for a number of years. I farm over by Barnum, and we have I'm the 5th generation there, so no stranger to farming. I use this technology on my farms. I test a lot of it. You'll see me doing a lot of stuff. But, you know, I really wanted to bring that home. I think it's time. And so Airstrike is a little bit about that mission. So nothing fancy, but this is where I do my work now. If, you know, this is right across from our farm at home, built out a shed. I've turned it into a classroom and learning environment, has repairs, has the ability to service and repair drones. It has the ability to store parts. Actually, we have quite a few drones in right now, and parts for the season coming up. You know, we're trying to be ready to support the local area as we start to get ready for this next year ahead. So it's been a big investment on my part, but I believe it's important, again, for our area to support it. And the products that I'm familiar with and I enjoy working with is XAG. You can see that one there. That's these spray drones. This one here is one of the models. The P150 is another one of the models that just came out. I've been working on that through the midnight hours to try to get that one up and going for the US and for the North American market. I work with Pix4D. Pix4D is a company I spent a number of years at. I spent 4 years as their business development, and I did a lot of research and work on there, developing features that I think are very valuable to the farm and are very easy to use, and I do a lot of training on that. And then the DJI product line, I think a lot of people are familiar with DJI. I'm familiar with their multispectral camera. In fact, it's pretty much a direct copy of the product I worked on building for Parrot. So it's It's a really nice sensor, and you know, our first sensor, I got to say, one of the benefits of China in some cases is they're very good and effective at building products and replicating them very well. And the DJI multispectral camera only costs you like $5,000, $5,500. Our first multispectral camera cost $5,000. This has RTK built in, it has everything. I mean, that's a very, in my opinion, it's a cheap investment for making a map of your farm, and very effective. So, kind of a neat tool. So, today, you know, we're really, I believe, right at the verge of a new era. We've started a lot of great stuff, I think. You know, hearing some of these presentations is challenging to me as a farmer. I'm thinking about the things I'm going to do, the things I want to try, the things I'm interested in trying. And then there's this robotics, you know, generation coming. We look at our resources and what we can and can't do, specifically our human resources. You know, we just don't have enough people to get things done. And it's not just that, it's you know, robotics, you know, you can send these things out and they can do what you program them to do at any time, at any place. So we talk about night spraying, and we talk about all these different types of applications. It's amazing what we're going to be able to do, especially through kind of a hive mentality of products. You know, it's not about having the biggest horse tractor in the market. It's going to be multiples of many, so it might be 5 or 6 drones to do one job, you know, or 2 or 3 if you're just a smaller farmer. But, you know, I think we're just right on the verge of that. And digitization of the field is key. That's like the most important part of that step. So if you're going to take that step as a farmer, you're going to need to digitize your farm. You're going to need a map of it in order to be able to send that robot to go do that job. So if you want driverless John Deere tractors, you still got to drive the boundaries, right? Has anybody done any research on that? You still have to outline. You still have to tell a robot. Robots are dumb, believe it or not. As smart as they are, they're dumb. They're going to tear down every transmission pole on your farm. They're going to keep driving across. If you don't give them a boundary, if you don't give them an outline of where the obstacles are, they're going to continue driving or tearing things down. Even if they have the best obstacle detection system, they still will hit it. It's like Murphy's Law, right? I mean, it just happens. So the best thing you can do is invest in a digital infrastructure to understand where are your boundaries at, where are your obstacles at, and a mapping drone is really the vehicle to get that job done. So looking at, you know, hearing what we heard today, thinking more about what we're doing in our battlefield or in our fields, right? We have a lot of crop threats. We have a number of things. I mean, whether it be aphids, rootworms, tar spot, we've seen that move in here just late this year. Southern rust was a big deal this year, right? I've worked on projects on like burr cucumber. That's been a problem that keeps merging more and more. And that's an interesting problem. And it typically takes, you know, again, this kind of goes back to the name of the company, Airstrike. The idea of like burr cucumber is, anybody deal with it? It's not really super fun, and it just keeps coming back to haunt you, and it keeps spreading. And anybody with irrigation center pivots have really bad problems with this because it spreads by the wheel track, or you get in your combine and you carry it from field to field to field. And my uncle has this issue down by Tama. So what we did this year is we actually took, we digitized his field. So we took a map of it with a multispectral camera. We were able to use what's called Magic Tool, which is built into Pix4D fields. We click on the things we want and the things we don't, and it just finds everything in the field that you want. So that we did this all on the side of the field. This isn't like I send it up to the cloud and then download it and upload it and do all that stuff. I just put it on my computer, I map it. 15 minutes later, I have a map. I click what I want. he looked over my shoulder while I'm doing it. He's like, nope, that's where it is, that's where it is. We create the map, and then we create what's called a targeted application. So a targeted application is like an airstrike, right? A targeted airstrike on those weeds. So we just launched the drone, and it just applied Roundup just to those positions, right? Just to those positions. And we dropped a fairly concentrated load of Roundup with AMS to heat it up. He was very happy with his results. I called him the other day. I said, how did it do? He said, we did really well. We did really well. Grade was good. He said, we're going to do it next year. We have a little bit in this field now. We found out it went to a couple different fields. So again, this is an example of how we're using it to clean up some issues in a targeted way. There's also, whether it be aphids or other things, we can treat that maybe by doing border passes of products, not just spraying the whole field or other things. One thing that we face as farmers, especially, these are pictures from this year, is we had a very wet start, right? And you guys were a little bit wetter over here than we were over there, but it makes a difference, not too far away, but, I had several guys that could not get their their pre-pass put on after putting beans in the ground. They hurried up, got the beans in, right? But the problem is, how are you going to get that post-application on? And it just kept raining and raining and raining and raining. So we did some some pre-applications, pre-post, before the beans emerged. Had very good success rate with that. I'm not going to say I'm going to do every acre that way, and I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I'm going to say it's way better than what the alternative was. And the drone itself is one of those great tools that when it shines, it shines. I mean, it does make you, it can pay for itself very quickly in that sense. I think another thing that we're limited to today is, current technology is just applications. We just don't have, we have a big window of applying products, but how many times do we actually use that window? How many guys are actually allowing the ground rig to run over their crop 5 to 6 times a year? We're lucky if we get one in, and if we do one, what do? We dump everything in the tank and we just hope that it's going to be the right choice, that they don't antagonize each other, or we're thinking to ourselves, I'm just going to save myself that application cost because I don't want to pay for twice. And so if you really are honest with yourself, most of us are really just applying our product, was there a marker? Sorry. We're really just applying, you get a restart. We are just applying the product in the first part of the year, and that's it. We're not actually, the rest of the year, it just kind of sits there, right? I mean, I don't know how many of you have Haggies. Some of you have drones, so you do have this capability, but you're really not reaching other times a year when we should be applying insecticide, or when it should be economically viable to spray those products. We're just putting it all in the tank and we're just going, hey, I hope it works. I think it did a good job. And how much money are you spending when you do that? And then crop damage itself. Every time you drive across that field, it's going to be an assumed 5% damage, typically. Even in a square field, there's damage, right? We're going to run over crop. I hate running over my beans when I'm putting on a fungicide with a sprayer. Even if it's a high-boy sprayer, you're still running over those things and you're pulling them down with your wheel tracks, and sometimes, and Dad's the one that tells me, gosh, did you see the row when you were driving or whatever? And I'm like, well, I tried, but the ground was wet. It pulled me to the side, whatever it was, Like, well, you're probably on your phone. So, but we damage our crops doing that, and 5% does add up. And the more I think about it, what about ground compaction? I mean, we talk about some of these other systems with the organic systems. You know, putting a wheel on the ground does matter. Compaction is a real thing. So that does cost you as well. The coarse field shape really makes a difference in this. And what are our current tools today? Well, of course, we have air tractors and we have Aggies. And, you know, I think they're great tools. I think they do a good job. They do a fine job. I'm not going to complain about air tractors. I'm not going to complain about Aggies. I think they all have the right function. Especially if you're trying to deliver a high amount of water, that Aggie, you're not going to beat it, right? You're going to get that 20 gallons the acre. I'm not going to be the person to sit here and tell you to go out with a spray drum at 20 gallons the acre. All those people that do it. We have some great tools, fertilizers, biologicals, crop protection. But we do have some new tools. The DJI Mavic Multispectral is a great tool. That is something you're going to use to map your field. Right tool for the right thing. You know, some guys ask, can I get a spray drone that does the mapping too? Kind of, yes. But do you really want to fly, you know, like a 100-pound vehicle across your field to map it and use like 14 batteries? Or do you just want to use, you know, this small thing that folds up, basically fits in my bag, and it takes 45 minutes in one flight. You can fly basically high 60 acres. Right tool, right job. Pixworthy Fields software, again, I'm really big on that. I think it's great because it's an edge product, which means it's not a cloud-based product. You put it on your computer and you run it on your laptop, and your data stays there, and you process your data there, and you don't have to upload data. In rural America, uploading data takes a lot of time. This enables you to process the imagery right on the field's edge on the laptop. So I'll be mixing product with my, you know, setting up my drone while the drone is mapping. As it lands, I put it in and I'm processing it. I might be folding out the drone or setting up something while it gets done. I outline my boundaries, and then I send it to the drone, and then I go. Because if you call me to come and fly your field, or I go to somebody else's field, whatever, it doesn't matter. You know, I don't know what your field looks like, and I don't know what your boundaries look like, and I don't know even if a tree fell in the back of the field. You know, some of you don't have any, and some of us don't have any trees. But I've been to a number of fields where guys don't tell you about power lines. I tell you what, power lines suck. It's not that the drone doesn't have obstacle avoidance, it's the fact that it flies at 31 miles an hour and it just cuts it in half a little slower. So, anyways, a good plan is your best defense. And if you're going to spend money on a spray drone, it's a no-brainer to do the software and to do the mapping. So, Pixworthy Fields does a lot of stuff. In fact, you know, I'm just talking about one feature or two features, but like I said, Magic Tool can be used for looking at the density of the plants. It can be used at figuring out escaped weeds. It can be used to figuring out where the thistle patches are in the pasture. It can be used for a lot of different things. And there's PDF reports, again, if you have insurance claims, whatever type of stuff like that. Targeted operations, if you want to send it to your John Deere sprayer, to your Ag Leader monitor, if you want to send a targeted operation to your drone, you can do all that in that software. It's something I find to be very powerful. And you can also...
What about tech-stupid people?
What's that?
That doesn't work good for tech-stupid people, is it?
To do what to people?
If you're a tech-stupid person?
Oh, no. Well, I don't think it's so bad. To be honest, I kind of call it GIS for dummies. I don't know, because I'm used to using ArcView Pro and some of those power tools, right? The thing is none of us really know any of the terms that are in that software or how to use it. All that's built into the workflow. In the UI, I have a good friend that built the UI. He's made it very simple for you to just kind of go through. You click on the things you want, you click on the things you don't want, and it finds it. You don't need to know anything about machine vision. You don't have to send your data set to India so people can click on the things and then send it back to you. It does it by itself in the software right there at the edge. It's pretty cool. So You can get a trial of it, but again, I'll be teaching classes on this. So this is what I want to bring to our areas, to teach everybody how to use these tools. And I mean, everybody has a different situation, a different use, a different idea, you know. And the XA GP100 Pro, this thing's a legend. I love this machine. It's like the 4430 of drones. I mean, it is tough. It does cartwheels. If you break it, you can repair it. It's easy to work on. Doesn't have styrofoam in it. I mean, it's a solid drone, and it's tough and has a great spray pattern. Again, you have to use it right. You need training. You need to understand how to use it. That's what's important about it. Some of you don't maybe know what a drone operation looks like. This is a quick video of kind of like what it looks like on a commercial operation. This is a drone trailer that we had. We like the low ones, not the ones that you fly off the top of. But yeah, you're gonna slam your batteries in. We like enclosed trailers so that you don't get dust and dirt in your drone. We have a lot of gravel. So when you mix gravel with fungicide or any other sort of products, it makes a nice acidic solution that's really wonderful on electronics. So yeah, keep them clean, but here we are setting up the drones. You know, we're running the maps. We're getting it set up right now, setting up our approach routes, so how we're gonna go into the different fields. One drone's going to one side, but the other drone's going to the other. We don't use remote controllers, because why do you buy a drone that you have to fly? The idea here is, again, it's very automatic. And the reason why I'm showing this to everybody is because there is a huge knowledge gap between what you think, what a lot of people think drones are capable of, and what drones are actually capable of doing. These things are set it and forget it. I always tell people, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be a pilot and pay attention to your drone. That's what your job is as a pilot. But I don't have to touch the control for this thing. It automatically flies the field, it chooses its own routes, it does its own job, and then it comes back and lands. I still have to set up the settings on how to use it. Its spray width, its spray height, droplet size. I can change the droplet size based on wind conditions and products. But they come back and land, and all you do is you just put batteries in it and product. That's it. You should see about somewhere at 2 gallons to the acre, you're gonna see something like, you can see how they come in, they turn back, they turn around, and then they land automatically. That's a signature feature of the XAG product line. And that's, you know, even if you're flying it with hands, you can't be that good at piloting it. They're very, very optimized to fly as efficient as possible. And they follow the ground. That's a good question. A lot of people say, well, they won't take my terraces. We fly the Luss Hills, and I'm flying in Tama Hills. I can handle hills. I'm okay. So these products do a great job. Again, they come back, they land. You just fold them up. Normally, I hose them off. I don't like to have a bunch of residue on them. And then you take off and you go to the next site. Should see, like I said, 40 to 50 acres an hour per machine. You got 2 machines, you should see somewhere, on a good day, you're gonna see 1,000 acres. Yeah?
What about pivot irrigation? When the pivot might be a different position?
That's hence the mapping side. So on the mapping side, I mapped the pivot and I put in an obstacle there. Because
For the whole circle of the pivot, because it might be in a different position. each
right,
time you're there.
but if you take the photos right at the moment of, then your map is very current. And that eliminates any doubt. That's what gives me the confidence as a pilot to be able to say, okay, go. I don't really care. And it flies this thing. I had one guy who said, I don't need to map, and then he hit a pivot wire, and then he maps all of his fields now, and he said he's never had a problem ever since. So normally, you have to learn a lesson the right way. The hard way. This is an operation. These guys, this is what they do for their retirement. They go to Arizona, and look at the downforce of that sprayer, as it's traveling. So they're just spraying winter wheat. But these guys are awesome. I really like them, and they're just a wonderful group of people. But they just enjoy going down, and this is how they spend. They've got their trailer, they launch it off the top, it's just set up, it's got everything. I think they just sit in easy chairs and watch this thing fly all day. They also farm in Wyoming, so then they come up and farm up there too. Yeah.
So I have a small company spraying for me with drones now a little bit. How do you, can you go up over hills, line of sight, and these things can continue on?
Yeah, so they have a function in them that, yeah, I mean, they store all the information in their brain, you know? So it sets the plan up. So you don't technically have to have a communication. As soon as you launch that drone, you can sever the communication technically, and it's still gonna execute its mission. Does that mean that's the right thing to do, and that's what FAA wants you to do? No. Because FAA wants you to have control of that aircraft, be able to stop it in case a manned aircraft is flying at 12 feet off the ground in front of your drone. So, I'm a little sarcastic sometimes, I'm sorry, but it does I mean, sometimes that rule, but it's real. I mean, we gotta pay attention to our air traffic, we have to pay attention to the rules, we're not flying at the ends of runways, right? We're not being cowboys, that's not a good choice. But, you know, that's a good point. You get behind a tree line, I mean, I cut my teeth in Missouri, so I've seen everything. It doesn't matter, you know. And they love bulldozers in Missouri, right? And so they're taking out terraces, they're taking out tree lines, they're making ponds, they're doing stuff all the time. They're using a satellite image to make your flight path is a recipe for disaster. Because it's changing so much, and satellite imagery itself is not accurate geospatially. It could be a meter off in any direction, so if you like set your points, you know what I mean, you're gonna hit a tree. I don't know if that answers all your questions on that, and maybe probably too much, but it was just, yeah, you can fly beyond, you can see that, and it's gonna carry that with it. They also have 4G module in these, so they can stay connected. I know we don't always have 4G connections though here in the United States.
Well, you just went up over the hill, lost the signal, made crop circles, and got to go pick it up.
It sounds like the experience of a spray drone pilot at times, yeah. I mean, no, these have a return to home function, so if it's not like, if it doesn't hear from you, it goes back the way it came out of the field, and it takes that path back out. So you tell it and you control its entry and exit. So you tell it how to get into a field and how it gets, and it always follows that direction. So it's not gonna fly into a tree or power line, hopefully then that way.
So in that case, when you put in your boundaries and you map the field and you map obstacles, you can go up over the hill, it'll go down on one line, come over and come back on another without like a direct line of sight or a receiver or an antenna.
Yeah, yes,
Really?
yeah.
That's better than crop circles.
It's better than crop circles, you're right. I mean, again, here's another example of obstacles. I mean, this is very common for our area, but here's 2 units tearing across the field, and they've been mapped. I have no worries in the world that these things are doing an amazing job. And this is just taken over here, just west of here. You know, it's, I think it's beautiful scenery. It almost looks kind of like surreal to see these robots just, you know, and wind turbines in the background. But that's the reality. I mean, I've flown through, I always call it like threading the needle. I've flown underneath, you know, a field that had 3 transmission lines, guy wires, power substations, and it was 3 different separate fields, you know. I can't do that with satellite imagery, but I can do that when I do drone mapping and I have good digital boundaries and I do it right. You know, that gives me the confidence to fly that way. Yes?
So your digital mapping is coming from Pix 4D and going to the XAG,
Yes.
and it's graded by a DJI 3.
Yep.
That's the story.
So, and that's the benefit that I've had, the blessing I've had in my life. I work directly with DJI Project Management. The first multispectral unit in the United States was the one I tested. I worked with XAG directly to implement these flight plans and to get the right type of file types. So Pix4D makes the file types to convey it back and forth. We just recently released variable rate fertilization. So now we can do variable rate fertilization for product, any sort of product application with the drone. So I have a dry spreader and I have urea and I want to go out and I want to use satellite imagery now. I can take satellite imagery, find the weak points of the field, I can create targeted application, I can send it to the drone, I can variable rate urea on those areas to try to get that crop back up to its area, or back up to its production.
Are you looking for weak spots through like foliar density, or however, how do you find?
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of light. I mean, it tells you, the plants tell you through photosynthesis, we talked about that today, right? Through photosynthesis, they're telling us it's not gonna tell you always what the problem is, but it will tell you how the plant's doing. So it's one of the neat tools that you get. And this is urea. It's kind of the same thing. But we ran 2 of these and fertilized the field. I did a lot of urea. I think I did 10 tons this year. People are like, drones can't hold anything. Like, drones can, you do it right, drones can do it. I'm not saying I'm gonna put all my fertilizer on with a drone, no. But what I think might be a smart choice is maybe we put a good baseline on, right? We're gonna flirt with that range that we're uncomfortable with. And the reason why we don't do this normally as farmers is because we're afraid of the risk. We don't put a low rate of nitrogen on because we do it because we don't want to be cheap, we don't want to strangle the crop, right? So what we do is we go, well, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get out there and side dress that crop. And that's exactly why you put on 200 pounds of anhydrous every year or whatever, because you don't want to gamble with that chance that I can't get in the field. But that's the point. We have a mode of action now, a tool that can go anywhere at any time, whenever we want to, and put these products on. And that's the point. You can go as many times as you want. When you own one of these, you control your own destiny. You have the ability to put product anywhere at any time. That is a very powerful tool. And some of these products that we're talking about here are very exciting products. Who doesn't want the power to put this product exactly in the right acre at the right time when it's needed? We're not going to make one application of everything in this giant cocktail. We're going to make several applications at the right time. And it's not hard. You just assign this to these machines, and then you just tell them to go do it. And it changes the way you think. This is a new way of thinking for farming. It's not how hard I can operate now. It's how hard I can work to equip these things to do their jobs. They don't sleep. They keep working. They won't stop. At some point, I run out of energy. So, you can see these things are not running out of energy. Well, they do. They come back for batteries. It's me that has to keep giving them, batteries. It's me that has to keep giving them fertilizer. So I just become a robot babysitter. So that's kind of the way operations are running now. But this is the way we're going to see big equipment go in the next 10 years, I think. Next 10 to 20 years.
So the only downfall is wind, probably?
Wind, yeah. Wind, arguably you can apply in the rain, and then you have drift issues with spray. So there's some environmental things, of course. We have to abide by the laws of nature. But this opens the season quite a bit to applications. And I think that's extremely exciting. Now you have full season benefits of herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, biologicals, stimulants, biofertilizers, whatever you're putting on the crop, whatever you want to try, whatever you want to do, now you have the ability to do it. One of the reasons why you don't test, and I know you're the same as me, you don't want to load up 1,200 gallon sprayer or whatever, or an 800 gallon sprayer to spray corner of the field with a test product, right? I want to try something, but it's too much work. That's too much work. Who wants to clean the sprayer out? Who wants to go to that much work, run over the crop to put that product out there? Now I load up a tank, 14 gallons, and I can go out and I can fly right across the rows perpendicular to all of them, all my varieties, and I just strike products across the field. And I don't care what your product is, I'll try it. You tell me when to put it on, how to put it on, when to put it on, and I'll do it. I want to learn. I want to be successful. I'm sure you do too. And this is the way to do it. You can put on anything at any time, however you want to. It's a very powerful tool. What's the cost? I mean, I'm just spitballing here to give you some examples, but the drone kit, 8 batteries, 30,000. Generator 5, licenses, you know, some other equipment. I'm kind of being generous, but it's about 42, 50,000. I don't know. I mean, it's somewhere in that part. 40, you know, if you want, get a good generator. Don't buy a cheap piece of junk. Let's do some economics quick. High clearance sprayer, 300 to 700,000. I don't think I'm being too out of line there. And you still got to pay for fuel. You have compaction. You have crop damage. So you're getting that crop damage, even 5% at today's cost is $30 to $40. If you add it up, it is expensive when you think about it. What's a drone going to cost you? Well, we said 50,000. What's the fuel? I can run my generator, 25 watt, I have a 25 kilowatt generator diesel. Runs all day on diesel. I never run out of fuel. And it's just a small little tank. It's not even like 5 gallons. No damage. No damage. Okay? Unless you're spinning crop circles. But makes a great silage chopper. What if you hire it? Okay, we can hire people, but it's $10 to $15 an acre for one application. Again, we get back to this problem where I'm not willing to put product on when it needs to be on, and I'm putting product on, I'm just gonna mix it all in one big tank and hopefully I get 90% of it or 70% of it to work. Or you could spray yourself, and every time you fly, you're putting $10 to $15 in your own pocket. And that's just one application. You start doing 2 applications, 3 applications. You're really putting money in your pocket. And then I'm just going to take an example, fungicide. You can put on one high dollar, 3-mode fungicide for $24 an acre, or $22 an acre, whatever number you want. And you're going to throw an $8 insecticide in, because why not, right? Or you can go to the multiple pass system, and you can go 2 applications, split applications of a generic at $5 an acre. Delero's coming off this year. It's going to be $9 an acre or something for the fungus for the generic. You can put in a $3 generic insecticide when you need to put it on, you know, in that later application maybe. And look at how much that cost you. That's not even as much as the 3-mode of action fungicide you had earlier. And you have longer coverage, and this is what's going to be important when it comes to tar spot. Some people, like in Wisconsin, they're doing 3 applications of fungicide. Now, I don't know if that's what you agree with. We could work on the soil health, right? We could work on feeding the soil. We could work on healing the plants and making sure they're healthy, giving them the proper dose of copper or whatever it is that they need to be healthy so that they can fight what they have to when it comes to that time. There's a lot of different ways. I'm not saying I'm subscribed to one program or the other. I'm just saying you can put whatever product you want, wherever you want, whenever you want. Except for a really windy day, right?
What is your wind limitation?
When do you want, if you wouldn't spray it normally, that's when I would stop spraying. Typically that's in that 7 mile to 10 mile an hour range because
Almost never. Yeah.
you know, in the heat of summer, it seems like the wind never blows, to be really honest. I swear, when you're out there running a drone, I wish it would blow a little bit, but those days can be there can be some hot days in there, right? So, one thing we offer at Airstrike is, I really want to offer the hands-on training. I don't want you to have to do this alone. There's nothing more nerve-wracking than buying a $30,000 investment, and then I hand it to you and say, good luck. You can buy it online, you can buy them cheaper, you can do a lot of things to get these things, but without the training, without some level of understanding, do you want to learn how to spray and do spray pattern testing all by yourself? Or do you want to guess and find out next year that you didn't do a good job? You know, what about situational awareness? Are you prepared when an air tractor flies across your field What are the buttons you hit? You know, like there's just some things, and that's one of the things that you learn in hands-on training that you wouldn't get for just going out there and doing it yourself. So I think that's a great value, and I pride teaching people. I really like to teach people, and it's very enjoyable to see somebody be successful. That way they go out there and they have the confidence to operate. And I want to just say, be legal. I know everybody thinks that because they own their own farm, they don't need to. They don't need to have a license. You do have to have a license, and there's a process to get it. It's not scary. It's not terrible, but you have to do things in order, and you have to. I'm just telling you right now. Last year, I tried to get some people through, and it was taking 4 weeks to get licensed for a 137, and then it went to 6 months because they changed the process at the FAA. My point is the earlier you can start getting your licensing, the better it's going to be for you to get out and to be successful. You can be comfortable, you can be protected under the right rules, you can have the insurance that you need so that you can be certified. You do need to have your IDALs, right? You need to have your 11F aerial applicator license. It's not hard. You can go to Iowa Central and get that license. Okay. Your 107, you can go to Iowa Central and get your 107 license. It's not hard. It's really not that bad. It's just like another CDL. But the 137, you do need to have some understanding to get that done. And that's something I'd be glad to help any of you on if you have any questions.
137.
It's just a process, that's all. So, kind of closing message is just really, I want to let you know that the sky is a new dimension. It's an old dimension, but it's a new dimension to us. It's a new tool. It's a new opportunity for us to apply products, like I said, anywhere, anytime during the cropping season. I think it's a very valuable addition to the set of tools that we already have. I'm not giving up my big sprayer yet, but this is a really good tool, and I don't want you to miss out on it. I do see that robotics are going to become a bigger part of our life, and I think it's time to get ready, to train, to be ready to operate these machines, and to embrace this technology and be ready for it. So, you can attend a demo. If any of you have questions, you want to see it work, come out. I'll fly them at the farm, I have no problem. I can fly them on your farm if you want, that's not an issue. I can help you get legal, help you get trained, but, my goal is to help you execute at the end of the day. I think that's the most important part. It's going to make you guys the most successful on your farm. So, that's all I have for my presentation. If you have any questions or comments?
Second, Lucy.
Yeah.
So, throughout today, we've talked about ROI.
Yes.
And of course, it depends on how much and what you're gonna use it for, but do you have what size of farmer do you think's on the low end of ROI owning a drone? And then is there a high end where a person might need 2 drones? I mean, is there
When do you
a
switch?
sweet spot in there to justify owning one? I don't know if that's an answer to that, because everyone's gonna vary.
It's just a size question. It's a multiplier thing. Like if you have 10,000 acres, you're going to need a couple drones for sure, right? If you have 1,000 acres, it's a few day job to get all your fungicide sprayed. It's like 3-4 days, right? I mean, it's not even that. So it's not that big of a deal to have one drone and operate. And it's just a multiple thing. I like 2 drones because I can't stand watching just one go across the field. It's just, again, when you're just babysitting, you're just like, it's like, oh, come on. Like, when you have 2, one's landing, one's going, one's going, it keeps things moving. But anyways, it's a good question, but I actually do think it fits any size of farm. It's just a matter of how many that, you want to do. I think you get like that 10,000 acre farmer or something like that, they need to have maybe 2 trailers running if possible. That's the way they operate. But, and it depends on what your threshold. You didn't plant the whole crop in one day. So, you have time.
Good people. There.
Other questions? All right. For entertainment value, if you want to see
Straight, that was most efficient.
some crazy Canadians do some flight tests here, don't do this. But it is, this guy's 150 pounds, I think. Everybody asks whether you can do this or you can't do this, but anyways. And then, if you're 220 and you're hoping to do this, here's your demo. Okay. Hence the reason why you don't do it. But, new model could probably lift you, but I'm not advocating for any of that. Don't do it at home. All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate your time.